Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Nation at 5. I'm Anand Narasimhan coming to you live from the newsroom here at CNN News 18. And we start with yet another incident of temple vandalism and attempt to try and defile or deface the area of temple and also Hindu Astha. If it was Australia till in the recent past, this has now happened in Canada, ladies and gentlemen, and we're starting with these visuals. Rise in these kind of incidents across the world. After 3 temples attacked in Australia, this is the Gauri Shankar Mandir in Canada's Brampton that has now been vandalized. The mayor of Brampton, Patrick Brown, has condemned the attack, but he's in the past has been seen sympathizing with some of these Khalistani elements. That's the allegation. But now this is what Patrick Brown has said. I have raised my concerns over this hate crime with Chief Nish and the Peel Police. Everyone deserves to feel safe in their place of worship. Meanwhile, Indian origin Canadian MP Chandra Arya had tweeted out to say, and I quote, "From hatred on social media, now physical attacks on Hindu temples. What next? I call on the government at all levels in Canada to start taking this seriously. Remember, last year, the BAPS or the BAPS Swaminarayan temple was vandalized in Toronto, and the Gandhi statue at Richmond Hill was also defaced. In those instances as well, pro-Khalistan slogans were seen on the Indian symbols." That's what Chandra Arya has tweeted. We will try and connect. We will try and be in touch or try and get in touch with Chandra Arya. It's we ours in Canada, ladies and gentlemen. We try and see if we can speak with the Indian origin Canadian MP. But this is a growing spate of incidents, and it is these park-backed vandals who are getting emboldened. Now, one of the arguments that stands out or comes up is why give them any credence, why give them attention, because they are doing this because they're desperate for attention. But this is how they try and seed themselves, and they try and get into a situation where heads I win, tails you lose. So either ways they get to make some kind of gains. Should these elements not be clamped down at the very outset is one question. Secondly, why is it that these entities are being allowed a free run in nations that are supposedly friendly with India, especially in the case of Australia? Pathikrit Pine now joins us. We're also looking forward for Alok Bansalji to join us. He's the Director, India Foundation. Pathikrit Pine, a security analyst. Pathikrit, increasing number of events that are happening, and these elements are only getting emboldened unless they are cracked down with an iron hand. And one question that arises is, why is the Indian government here, and of course the consulate or the High Commission over in these countries, not weighing in on the local authorities to crack down on these elements?
Anand, good evening. I think in today's era, the Hindus are gradually becoming the Jews in terms of the kind of persecution they are facing right now. And unfortunately, the Hindus are actually paying the price for being law-abiding citizens and not for being rabble-rousers. A part of the reason, Anand, for which these are happening is also because for a long time, unfortunately, in many of the American universities and European universities, they have consistently created a narrative which is anti-Hindu. And I think many of these countries actually know very well what is the difference between a civil protest and a violent movement by a secessionist organization, which are part of elements, part of whom are already banned in India. So on one hand, unfortunately, these countries like Canada or Australia, they claim to be allies of India, partners of India. They want India to play a bigger role in Indian Ocean. They want India to create a coalition against China. They want Indian market to be opened up to their countries. They want India to create a resilient supply chain. They want India to mediate on bigger issues. But when it comes to integrity and sovereignty of India, they actually pay a lip service. And this is the hypocrisy and the double standard we must address. These are not local issues. I think somewhere as India emerges bigger, there will be this kind of hate jobs. Yes, the government of India may have taken certain diplomatic measures, but it has to go beyond that. This is my understanding. You have to raise the bar of consequence. You have to tell these countries that these are the things I want from you. If these things are not taken care of, there will be consequences. In terms of a free trade agreement, in terms of other things, imagine, would UK be happy and call it a freedom of speech if Indian organizations start having these programs promoting and giving space to those who want to separate Scotland from the United Kingdom, to talk about Northern Ireland and its demand for a separate country? So when we actually respect the integrity of these countries, it has to be reciprocated. The presumption of the West that they
See,
can do what they
what
want,
happens
but the
is
rest cannot do, must stop. And this is where the
what
government of
happens
India
is
must raise the bar of consistency.
what happens is a lot of the Indian diaspora are citizens of the country that they have decided to adopt, Alok Bansal. So can the high commissions there get away with this kind of excuse saying that you are now citizens here, so you contact the local authorities? Is there not a responsibility to weigh in with the Indian diaspora, because it's the same high commission and India also extended, which looks to this diaspora to also further the cause of India and the story of India. So in that case, then there has to be an active condemnation, and we have to take the might of 1/5 of the world's population. We are a nation of 140 crore, not to be messed around with. We are the 5th largest economy, soon to be the 4th largest economy, the only nation that is going to register consistently a 6% annual growth, even into 2023. We have to make this might count somewhere. And especially with these kind of elements, they have to be nipped in the bud today.
See, there is no doubt that this sort of an incident, like where vandalization of a temple has taken place, I think we need to criticize it unambiguously, and our representative, our ambassador, as the representative of the Republic of India, should also criticize us unambiguously. Probably what he was trying to project to these people was that it should not appear that your loyalties are still, because you've taken up the citizenship of that country, it should not appear that you are still hankering after Indian ambassador, because sometimes in some countries it creates a sense of perception that these people are still not loyal citizens. So probably that may have been the thing. I am not really very clear as to under what circumstances did he make that sort of a statement, because as ambassador of Republic of India, I think he ought to express the concerns of Government of India, which are very clear, that as far as we are concerned, any such act where a place of religious worship, which is actually respected by millions and billions of people, is desecrated, vandalized, is a serious offense. And I think Indian government has criticized it, and an ambassador of that Indian ambassador to that country should also.
How long do we stop at criticism? Where is the action against these vandals? Have the Melbourne authorities acted against these vandals? Have they arrested them for defacing a place? Does freedom of expression extend to secessionist activities, to defacing a place of worship? Have the Canadian authorities arrested these vandals? One can't get away with saying there is no CCTV footage. All these places are covered by CCTV, and you can identify the vandals if you want them to. Are we insisting?
We need to pressurize these governments and tell them that what is the progress. But obviously, there are limits to how much you can pressurize some of these governments, which are overtly friendly. Of course, in Canada, we have seen a lot of activities that have taken place which have had undertones of anti-Indiaism, which have actually, we have secessionist elements have got stage in Canada in a number of forums. And I think that sort of a slight anti-India slant has always been there. But the amount of pressure that you can put it on a country is limited. Of course, we have seen what happens in other countries when some holy text is burnt or something. People react, those countries react far more strongly. I think we could also use this as an economic threat or something like that. If we feel that the countries of those, the governments of those countries are not taking actions which we would expect them to against those who have perpetrated the action. And they should be sharing the progress if they have to. And if they have not been able to share, then we should take some actions, because we have a lot of economic.
It's not about taking
today.
actions. The fact, Alokji, and I'm taking this to Pathikrit Payan, if there is an attack against Jews, you know the might of Israel that comes into play. If there's an attack against anybody from the Christian fraternity, you see how the entire Christian lobby wakes up across the world. The same case with Islam, the same case with Sikhism. But point is that when it is Hindu Astha which is in danger, who's going to stand up and ask and safeguard the interest of Hindus? Should we leave it to the local diaspora, or should Hindustan stand up?
Anand, as you rightly stated, we have always, presumed and expected the diaspora to be our extension, and we have seen the way they actually stand for India on several occasions. So it is our responsibility as well to talk about them. Number two, if you continue with a bureaucratic approach to these problems in this era of hybrid war, then you will only get lip service in return. Now, if Australia or a Canada in this era, these are hit jobs they're doing. They actually can't counter India by waging a war. Perhaps for India's strong foreign policy on many issues, including the Russia-Ukraine issue. So they're doing these things. They know what they're doing, but they're deliberately doing it. Now, why can't we do hit jobs? You can't expect, that I would complain an ambassador is a bureaucrat, nothing more than that. They will write a letter, he will make a statement, and they will take care of it. No, it's not going to happen like that. You do things which will hit those countries, and then it will force the people of that country to ask their own government, please change your policy which you have right now on issues that concerns India. This is the fifth generation warfare going on. This is not a typical law and order issue. Are we to presume the Australians don't know what Khalistanis are? Are we to presume the Canadians don't know? They know, and they are happy that the Khalistanis are doing the work which they and their deep state otherwise would have loved to do to keep India in some kind of a chaos. So let's understand, if I have very high respect for this government's foreign policy, if we can defy the might of United States and Europe to have a very independent foreign policy on issues of energy, on how we have managed our energy management, 100% marks to government of India for the way they have managed the economy. This is the same thing that has to be done on this issue, and it has to be taken up by the highest political leadership.
Is it taken with that kind of seriousness, Alokji? Because the moment your fuel prices rise, it will have a cascading effect not just on the economy, it's also going to be politically very, very harmful. But more importantly, it's the people who are going to suffer. So you have to take a larger call there. Here, in this case, if you give it too much of credence, then these elements get emboldened. If you don't give any credence, they get emboldened. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And they are sitting in a situation where heads they win, tails they lose. Tails we lose.
To some extent, if we actually ignore them, they don't get the traction which they want. But having said that, we need to bring the culprits to justice, and that's what we have to do. The temples or the religious places which have been vandalized, I'm sure they must be having CCTV cameras where these perpetrators can be identified. And if the security agencies of these countries are not taking action, then we must raise the traction, because at the moment, if they are saying that they are trying to investigate, I think we would have to wait, because we can't be unduly harsh and ask them to make haste, because but if we know that there is a deliberate attempt by these countries not to take actions against these vandalizers, then I think we would be justified in taking certain severe punitive actions, economic or otherwise. I think it would be prudent to give them some time. And at the same time, I feel that it is not correct to actually give them too much of hype, because that is what these elements actually intend to
get.
See,
the hype will not be given if they are treated as criminals and then caught up immediately and dealt with immediately. For that, you have to build pressure so that these criminals don't get any space. There are nations which are now putting in preemptive clauses to stop preempt protest and to stop them from happening. So then we should also preempt. When there is a build-up like what happened in Australia, we should weigh in and we should do it. We should put in enough pressure there to ensure that they are not able to get the kind of space that they were allowed. That's the point of view. We should have as a nation the ability to impress upon these countries that if you don't want us to cede space to elements who want to sabotage you, then you better do the same for us. It's like to like. If you cannot do that, then don't come back and turn around and ask us why we are giving space to those who are intending to sabotage you.
So that's what I'm trying to say, that we should not project it as a vandalization of a temple, but as an attempt by secessionist elements to disrupt the integrity of India. And that is where we need to take strong action, because large number of them are diaspora.
Let's not be apologetic about standing up for the cause of Hindus. Let's not be apologetic as a nation at all. We are Hindustan. So we will stand up for any Indian citizen or Indian diaspora who are being harmed. But more importantly, if temples are attacked, if any place of worship is attacked, we should stand up for it.
No, when a place of worship is attacked, it is for that country to take action. We can only highlight the issue. But when somebody is acting in an action which affects us and our integrity, then we as a
Yes.
nation are duty bound to
Correct.
take action against it. And I
Correct.
think
The
that
message is secessionist. The vandalism
Yeah.
happened on a property in that soil, but the message is secessionist, attacking the sovereignty
Undoubtedly.
of our country. So,
That's right.
Alokji, Pathik Repline, please stay on with us. We're going to shift focus here on the Nation at 5. So, moving away from this temple vandalism episode by once again park back vandals to that nation which is on the verge of bankruptcy, ladies and gentlemen. For the 9th review, the IMF team finally, after much cajoling and of course some very strong steps that have been taken, which are pinching the Pakistani people, taken by Shehbaz Sharif-led government, the IMF team has come there for a review to strike a staff-level agreement on the 9th review under the $7 billion extended fund facility. The IMF team will be in Islamabad from today until the 9th of February. IMF's $1.1 billion aid, part of the $6 billion bailout package was announced last year, will be very crucial for Pakistan to avoid complete economic collapse. Shehbaz Sharif has said that he is confident that the government will reach an agreement with the IMF this month, which would help Pakistan get out of these difficulties. He hopes that the IMF loan revival would help unlock inflows from friendly countries and also multilateral leaders. But this nation is in deep, deep trouble. Many are saying, and experts are watching very closely, they are saying Pakistan could be bankrupt by May 2023. Alok Bansalji.
it could be bankrupt even earlier. If IMF does not give them a bailout, they might be bankrupt by March or February. But even if IMF gives them a bailout, I don't think so this country will last for too long, because we are seeing that the past practice of going with a begging bowl to the so-called friendly countries has not succeeded this time. The countries like Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, UAE, China, etc. have only paid token lip service to Shehbaz Sharif's begging pleas. In fact, we saw what happened yesterday. The UAE president was to come to Islamabad and then he cancelled it at a time when Pakistani authorities had declared a holiday in Islamabad just to welcome him, because they were actually expecting a huge amount of dole from him. And then he probably realized that it probably doesn't work out, so he actually went away. We are already seeing that the rupee is touching 270 rupees to a dollar, Pakistani rupee. The petrol and diesel prices have just been raised by 35 rupees. And the inflation is crossing through the roof. The bank interest rates are above 17.2%. So it's an economy in crumble. The major exports of textiles are actually now affected. The remittances, which used to be one of the bailing out proposition as far as Pakistan's foreign exchange crunch was concerned, is also reducing. So Pakistan is in deep crisis, and I really have serious doubts if it can come out of it without some benevolent gesture by the West, because its traditional allies have realized
one of the biggest points that the IMF has raised, Pathik Ritpain, is to cut Rawalpindi to size. Very clearly, the IMF is also telling the Pakistani people that the reason for your penury right now is Pindi. They have put a stringent condition. They have turned, and according to a source in the finance ministry in Pakistan, this is what a source in the finance ministry, Pakistan is worried about IMF's rigid and tough conditions. This time IMF has asked Pakistan to cut defense expenses. Source is saying that the delegation repeatedly asking for audits of defense bills, and Pakistan have to review and reduce military expenses. This is defense personnel yearly pensions over 400 billion Pakistani rupees, but shown as civil expenditure in budget since the days of General Musharraf. At present, 50% of the country's national budget is consumed by debt servicing, followed by 26% that is spent on defense. So nearly 76% of the country's budget is for servicing debt and the military. This is the number that is standing out. And before Pakistan, IMF has also asked the government of Sri Lanka to slash its armed forces budget over a course of a year in an effort to get this handle on public expenditure. So clearly, will Pakistan agree to do this?
Well, Anand, a strong government ideally could have, but Shehbaz Sharif will be cut down into an unlimited number of pieces if he tries to or even think of cutting down Rawalpindi to size. That's the predicament of becoming the Prime Minister of Pakistan. You see, the fundamental problem for Pakistan has always been is that it has always been an unviable economy. It is already a bankrupt state. It's just being kept afloat by borrowed money, which is kept parked in their foreign exchange reserve. The reality today is that IMF is asking Pakistan to raise revenue by raising the prices of many of the essential commodities which the government gives out, including, say, oil. But the problem for Pakistan is that the purchasing power of people is extremely compromised. So what happens if you raise the price of oil? They will take the oil from the black money market, and the oil will flow from Iran and elsewhere. So it's not going to help Pakistan at all. If they try to reduce the expenditure on army, and huge part of the expenditure, as you also rightly mentioned, is the money which is spent on profligacy of the armed forces, not for military expenditure. Third, and a very important point is that IMF's concern is even if they give out this money, the money goes out every time. There have been 13 to 14 times the IMF has bailed out Pakistan. Where has that money gone? What has Pakistan done in terms of doing the structural reforms, in terms of bringing the economy on track, in terms of expanding on capital investments, in terms of reducing, unviable expenditures, in terms of creating an enabling environment for investments to happen? Pakistan has not done any of these things. And let me tell you, IMF is not trying to be very harsh on Pakistan. As you rightly mentioned, many other countries where IMF actually puts in money, they put these conditions. I mean, the best example is India itself. 30 years back, we had a critical situation. Look at the phenomenal phoenix-like rise for India from that time on the verge of bankruptcy to becoming the fifth largest economy. In spite of the pandemic, in spite of so many challenges, we have emerged every time as a more resilient country because the intent was right. For IMF today, the problem with Pakistan is the intent. They know the money gets siphoned out. They know army takes the money. They know the political establishment
Look
does away with the
at
money.
how much
So
of
they know
financial
these things.
bungling has happened, Patikrit. I'm just seeing the detailed information that Manoj Gupta has sent. The IMF has actually found a 2,000 billion or nearly 2 trillion rupee breach in budgetary estimates for 2022-23 in its initial assessment. Look at the bungling. They have put in stringent methods, increase in petroleum levy, flexible exchange rate, new taxes to fulfill revenue shortfall, electricity and gas tariff increase, past 6 months electricity bills price increase. So retrospectively, they want the Pakistan government to charge them. And they are also saying, how is Shehbaz Sharif going to do this? It just looks like Imran Khan and the PTI will be thanking the army and the establishment for sending them out. Because it's all going to fall on this opposition-led coalition, Alok Bansalji.
Undoubtedly. In fact, this is one of the things which Shehbaz Sharif has to face because he's trying to resist raising some of these things. Eventually, he had to raise petroleum and diesel prices. Now he'll have to raise electricity prices. He has to raise gas prices. And this will take inflation sky high. Also, the input costs will become so high that their exports will become extremely unviable. Textile, which employs almost 65% of the industrial workforce and is the mainstay of their export, is already becoming uneconomical, uncompetitive. And if European Union, which is already reviewing their GSP plus application because of the intolerance that exists in Pakistani society and discrimination against religious minorities. If EU takes a decision that GSP plus will not be extended, Pakistan's exports will collapse and Pakistan's foreign exchange reserves in any case are in precarious state. So Pakistan is hoping that somehow they manage to get this IMF bailout and then probably maybe China, Saudi Arabia and UAE will put in some funds. That's what is their expectations.
Well, absolutely shocking, the kind of what is happening. Earlier, the chants on the streets were, ये जो दहशतगर्दी है, इसके पीछे वर्दी है. Now people are saying, ये जो गुर्बत फैली है, इसके पीछे भी वर्दी है. So, two aspects, terror and penury for the people of Pakistan and a nation in disarray on the verge of bankruptcy. It's all being pegged on the military establishment there. We've got more news coming through in this one. This is on what's happening over in Afghanistan with the Taliban, ladies and gentlemen. Our investigations editor Manoj Gupta getting us these details. Senior Taliban functionaries are considering deposing Supreme Leader Mullah Hibatullah Akhundzad. Top sources in Afghanistan have said that as mounting frustration on the issue of women's education threatens to rupture the unity of the government, first Deputy Prime Minister Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar is emerging as the person most likely to supplant Akhundzad if the Amirul Mumineen is ousted. A high-level source has told News 18, emphasizing that the discussions are at an early stage. The decision in December last year to ban women from universities has become a flashpoint in the top echelons of the Taliban. So clearly, there are serious concerns that are being raised, and there is the fight between the Khost and the Kandahar factions, both of these who seem to be now at loggerheads, and there are a lot of progressive people within that entire Taliban functioning who believe that going back to these medieval practices and trying to be fundamentalist is going to distance themselves and let them and will not allow them to even curry favors from many of the developed nations with whom they've been trying to lobby very, very actively. Alok Bansal and Pathikrit Pain, thank you very, very much. We're going to take a very, very short break here on The Nation at 5. Stay with us.